welcome to Dark Hour Paranormal. I am your host, Michael Roser, once again. My friend, except for that once that Rick did it. But I'm here tonight with Manny from Area 503 and Rick from Rick's Realm. We welcome Manny back. He was on the show about a month ago, and we had a fantastic time. Come along again and see if you'd like to share a few things and have some discourse about what's been happening recently in the world of ufology. And we're going to go from there. So, folks, without further ado, I will take you up in just a moment. But very quickly, I would like to talk. Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to wait. I'll bring Rick's Realm in, and I'll bring Manny in just a moment as well. And bada bing. How we doing, boys?
Very good, thank you.
Hello, everybody.
How was everybody's day today? What'd you guys do? Anything fun and exciting?
I tried not to melt myself. It's hotter than heck in Portland. I tell you what.
Yeah.
Same here. You know how it is here. Yeah.
Better believe it, man. Trying to stay. All right. Well, let's just jump into this. I believe would be a good thing to do here because we have so much to discuss and so much to think about in respect to the climate of the field of ufology. Now, recently, as most of you know, I see you chat, which I will shout you out in a little bit, but I noticed some of you guys, you will know about the New York Times, what was said, and now what's being or modified in terms of what was said. Honestly, I think the damage has been done. And that's kind of a real slip of the tongue. That's what happened. And to me, it's just not feasible. I mean, how dumb do they think we are? Honestly. Manny, what do you think about this whole thing here? From the beginning when we started talking about the New York Times, and then Tucker Carlson comes on, and now we have the modification of what was being said, and everybody's up in the air. Do we have these materials? Do we have off-world vehicles? What do you think, man?
You know, my head is spinning right now about everything that's going on. And just probably, 2 days ago, somebody had asked me what I thought about it. And I thought I had a good grasp on the situation. But, like I had said earlier that every dang day it is changing. And that's the truth, So this is just like a wave. And we just got to get on the surfboard and ride it and see where it takes us, I've got some other thoughts about these programs and stuff. We'll talk about those in a little bit. I'll bring them up. But for right now, I think anything's possible. Is there craft out there? Do they have pieces of it? I don't really know. That's a lot different to me than releasing a piece of footage about some, with some FLIR footage or something. We're talking about some off-world metals or materials that can't be made on Earth. They need to explain that. I want to know what they meant. I'm really interested,
Absolutely. Rick, what do you think about this?
Well, to be honest, I was really excited when it came out, just as excited as everybody else was. And then to hear that the next, I didn't sleep that night. Obviously, I'm newer to the ufology field, but it's very interesting to me. And I didn't sleep that night. And then I wake up the next morning early, as I always do, and find out that it might not even be real, and they retracted. And, I just got really upset after that. So I'm trying just to see what comes out now and go from there and just not get too excited about anything else anymore. It's because it's like, my head's going to blow up. But yeah.
So you might be sitting on the side of, where Bob Lazar might be, saying, don't jump up in the air yet. And this is what he had said, let's see what happens next. I think that was a very conservative move, but definitely a necessary one considering what was being shared. Whether they have off-world vehicles or they have material that wasn't created here, or that it crash landed here, or there was an archaeological dig. I'm quite confused as to how they actually procured this stuff. But the implication is there, no? They didn't say that it came in on a comet or something like that, smashing the Earth, and we now have moldavite. They said we have materials that weren't made here or not from this planet. I mean, again, what does that imply? And how much can you backtrack from such a statement that went out into the mass consciousness? You know what I mean? Just something that it's hard to wrap your head around. And the idea that we might be at the edge of some sort of disclosure. is just overwhelming for even some of us in our group because of how much time and effort and energy we put into the field. Time will tell, but I think that the seal has been broken here. I think we're going to see some more stuff coming out, but they may or may not be a little more careful about what they're saying. But somewhere in here, I feel like there is an agenda to start disseminating this information. Would you guys agree? With the 6 months every year, they're going to put something out. Where do you think we'll go with this?
I personally do. I agree with you, Michael. I think that there's something, that this is part of a bigger stage of disclosure that may have been going on for, this could have been going on since the 40s, really. It could be part of some big plan, or it could not be. It could just be something recent, and, I think that they are definitely trying to leak information out like that and be like, oh, that's not what we meant. It's like, well, of course that's what you meant. That's why you said it, and then you retract it so that you don't have accountability. It's a pretty basic ploy. People have been pulling this shit since I was in high school. Sorry about that, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not, yeah, you get it. It's not anything new. And, especially coming from the DOD, the Pentagon. I mean, come on, they've been lying to us since Roswell. And every time they get caught, they're like, oh, it wasn't that lie. It was this other lie. It wasn't this other lie. Like, you can't take anything that they say at face value. You got to understand that they're playing, psyops. They're when they release this stuff, it's military intelligence. It's more for other countries, I think, than us, but it's also for us now. It's changing. I think that when we're seeing things like the Times article and stuff like that, they're starting to use these tactics to give us information now instead of the enemy. You know what I mean? And I always wonder, like, do they think we're the enemy because we're the public? I mean, we're their people. We're all this is us here, like, this is our game, this is our people. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get it. And that's why I say my head is just spinning about it. I don't know what to make of it at this point. And, I'm going to take that cautiously optimistic, stance and say, I want to believe this, but I'm not going to get my hopes up. And I'm just going to say, let's see what happens in the next day. Let's see what happens in the next week. Let's really see what happens in the next month, and then then we could talk about, hey, we've got a spacecraft or metal from another world. Yeah, that's kind of what I think. What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, I'm very emotional about the whole thing still. So
it's like, I gotta process this, man. I don't even know what to think, dude. Like, head is spinning, right?
It is. You wake up one day and we got aliens. The next day we don't got aliens. Maybe we got them. Oh wait, we don't. All right, who knows? And then it's like, oh, it's very, very exciting, but it's very stressful. And I can just only imagine like how much more stressful it is for you, Manny, someone who follows this subject, faithfully, and Rich Giordano, our buddy. I can only imagine how stressful it is for you guys because you're following this like I follow, video games, and it's just like,
good way to say it.
It's just amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, it's just I can only imagine. So I'm very happy to just not to be as stressed out as you guys. That's all.
There's always been this them versus us mentality, and not just on the level of where we stand, but also from this governmental level and up and higher it goes. There are many tiers to the government that obviously are behind the scenes, behind in the shadows, and we talk about them maybe being the ones that move things along in terms of process and so forth. I don't want to be that one guy or a group of people that are lapping up at the little droplets they're dropping in front of us when we know damn well what they have, and yet at the same time it's a validation. It's a confirmation that you can literally taste. When Tucker Carlson was on there saying this, my mind as well as many others was going a million miles a second, and I was recounting everything that I learned in this field and every experience I've ever had and putting it all together and then trying to accept that it might actually be coming to a consensus amongst the masses and that we'll actually know something. That being said, I don't think they think of us as the enemy. I think they think of us as, well, if we can't control them, then they're really probably no good to us. So, that's the motivation behind it. And in giving these little bits, it's like a parent giving their children a little bit of, the real world, you know what I mean? Working us into it. But again, how dumb do they think we really are? I mean, we've been doing this, talking about it for so many years. Let's just say since the 60s. You know what I mean? And we've been following it, hundreds of thousands of experiences and so forth. You know, I don't know what to make of it all right now. You know, it's something to keep talking about, of course, but you know, it's really hard to wrap your head around it all. But
yeah, like you mentioned the 60s, and I'm glad you brought that up because that was kind of what I wanted to talk about these different, government research groups. And everybody knows what ATIP is, right? The Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, led by Lou Elizondo, the senior government official that leaked the Tic Tac footage, right? Okay, that's how it's being portrayed. That was a program that ran for, I think, 3 or 4 years. It wasn't very long. But what we just had in the last New York Times release was the release of not only this metal and this new potential spacecraft, but what was subtly also mentioned in there was yet another program called the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Identification System or something, correct? I mean, so here we've got ATIP, then we've got this other program that they're saying, hey, this was out there too, right after ATIP. Well, wait a minute. When they outed ATIP, everyone was saying, oh, we did have a program like that, but we shut it down. They didn't tell us they started another one right back up. Okay. And if you follow that pattern of behavior, I believe if you go all the way back to Blue Book, all the way back to whatever, you're going to see that there were programs like this all the time. They just haven't disclosed them. Now they're slowly giving us little pieces and like, well, we've known about it all along. That's what we've been screaming about since, Bob Lazar came out in the 80s. Like, freaking tell us, man. Just tell us. We're big boys. We can handle it. We're big people. We're not going to run out in the street and our heads aren't going to explode because there's aliens. I mean, give me a break. Will there be some disruption to some systems? You betcha, as there should be. As there should be. People should realize that there's if there's life out there, then a lot of the stuff that we fight about and argue about and we think is so important on a daily basis is actually quite trivial. But all of that, I mean, like, so I don't know. I think they've been doing this for a long time. I think they've used outlets, and Tucker Carlson's a good one to mention. I can show you a YouTube channel that I found that's it's a backdoor for a social media site over in Europe that is following specifically ATIP and whatnot. And they use this channel just to lodge video clips to post on Twitter and other things like that. They have every single piece that Tucker Carlson specifically and his network have done over the last 2 years, and they have been pushing it very, very hard. So you need to consider the source there and say, why is this particular source gunning for this so hard? Did he get a leak? I mean, I don't know. I'm not speculating on that part of it because I don't know, but I'm just saying it's all coming from one mouth. It really is. And so you got to look at that and say, do they got a dog in this race, or are they just concerned citizens trying to inform everybody? I mean, I don't know. It's really interesting to look at it though and see who's talking about it. Over in the UK, they've got Express, which does the same thing. They pick up on certain types of fringe stuff and run with it, and they'll pick certain people that they want to, like, this is my channel or this is my person, and they promote them because that's where they're getting all their source material from. It changes on a yearly basis of who that is, but these people are still pushing it for their own agenda, some to sell ad copy and some for another reason. Who knows what that is?
No, absolutely. Yeah, I think more than ever, we're seeing, all these other sources pointing to some sort of disclosure or even contact in the near future. And I'm talking maybe 5-10 years. Dr. Horace Drew has been on my show a couple of times, and it's his conviction that, in decoding the crop circles that he did, that they may be coming and making some sort of contact by May of next year. Now, I've never really been one for dates. I take them with a grain of salt because, I mean, if for no other reason, timelines can change. We make different decisions and choices that alter, what actually comes into reality. So, it is possible, but I do think, and I kind of feel, in my own opinion, that we are pretty close to something major. And I really just wish I knew what it was, whether it comes in the way of a bulk of information from our own government, or we have a mass sighting somewhere that just can't be covered up because too many people have seen it. It'll be very interesting, like you're saying, 503, to see what happens next and what tomorrow brings. Rick, what do you think, man? Do you think we're going to be making contact next year? Do you think it'll be maybe in 10 years? Do you think in the century? And if so, why?
God, I don't know. And I hope we do. But then again, I'm like nervous because I'm someone who like runs away from like, too many bugs around. So I can only imagine, a big bug looking thing coming out of a spaceship but it's very exciting, but I don't know. I mean, who knows if there's just so much behind it to, you'd have to think about to even say if it's possible. But I think it's real. I think they are either visiting or about to, or they have visited and have some kind of deal maybe with the governments where they can't say anything. And this is all just maybe part of the current president's little thing where he likes to, make headlines and, make some noise. But I don't know. I think it's real. But to say, are we going to see it soon? I don't know. I just can't say.
No, good. It's a fair opinion there. I mean, it's really, everything is so up in the air. We can move on from this a little bit if you guys want. I know we've all talked about it to death and, different forums. So we can do that if you like.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I'll talk about whatever, man, as long as it isn't
cool.
Hardcore politics and religion, man. I'm like, let's keep that private.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man.
Right.
Yeah.
That being said, I definitely wanted to talk a little bit about abductees and people who claim to be chosen as contactees with these aliens. Now, obviously, there have been a lot of speculation as to why certain people are chosen. And I'll start with that and then kind of work my way in to the other thoughts I have on abductees and just, folks that you meet out in public that say, I've been abducted by aliens. But, through my understanding, it could be something as simple as bloodlines. Maybe there's been a race of aliens that's been in contact with this particular bloodline, for centuries past. They have a history. It could be that person is actually an incarnated being of the other species. So, for example, I'll use a reptilians, for example. So you have a reptilian soul anchored into a human body, having a human experience, but yet it is indigenously reptilian, and their signature energetically and the patterns that they exude can be measured in that body, and maybe they're being taken, for that measurement. What do you guys think? I'm going to start with Rick on this one, just to kind of turn the tables a little bit. Why do you think some people are chosen, in their words, to be the contact for all of civilization between the alien entities and ourselves?
Well, that's very interesting that you mentioned the bloodlines, because I haven't heard of that before. Could you be more specific on that, or is it just like, the bloodlines that they've been contacting them for generations? Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, I never thought of that as a possibility, but that's another one of those things, just along the lines of everything else in the paranormal field, where there's so many stories of it, yet very little proof. So for me to wrap my head around, I'm sure I believe it. If people, say they've had it and it's someone I trust, I'm going to believe them. But it's very interesting. Yeah, I really haven't looked into that subject too much, but I think it's very interesting. And if we have aliens, then definitely people are being abducted. I mean, why wouldn't we have on Earth? We have humans, all thousands of different types of animals and landscapes to look at, different, plant life, all this stuff. Why wouldn't you come here and take something? Of course, you're going to take a little souvenir back to the, Venus or wherever you're coming from. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Manny, what do you think?
Yeah, ancient alien theories, aliens being here all the time, so I kind of touched in this in my last video that I did, and I talked about how, life on this planet is, it's kind of unique, it is unique. It's the only place that we have found life officially that anyone has disclosed, even though now they're kind of drip feeding different things, about bacterium and microscopic organisms and things like that. And they're saying, well, maybe there is, stuff coming from other planets, it's kind of interesting. And I think, and I said this point too, I said, life on this planet is separated into, human beings are different, that we are sentient and we're intelligent, and that makes us the rarest of the rarest commodity in the universe, because life is the rarest commodity in the universe. Plenty of hydrogen out there, plenty of gold out there, diamonds, it's all out there. We're the only life that we know of, but here on Earth, we are different than that. So to me, it seems like we are going to encounter some form of lesser alien life before we have any statistical chance of encountering a higher form, because it's going to be rare as well. What are the odds that we're going to find microbial alien life before we find sentient, intelligent alien life? If life in the universe mimics what it does on Earth, and there is no reason to think that it doesn't, then it should be that way. The vast majority of life should be some kind of function of a bigger ecosystem, of a bigger system, and I think that's what we're going to discover as years and as the more that we explore space and stuff, which is why I'm so fascinated with it. It's going to answer these questions. We're going to be like, wow, we are part of something bigger. We're not just a person. We're actually part of a person, a community, a bigger community, the Earth, the solar system, the galaxy, what I mean? Like, however it goes. And so, I definitely think I think it's only a matter of time till we find it. But, again, will they tell us about it? It goes back to the old disclosure thing. Well, we can't tell the masses about it. They won't believe in God and they won't go to work, and it's like, come on, man, we're well beyond that. You guys have been drip feeding it to us my whole life. Like, come on, right. Enough's enough already. Either take a dump or get off the pot,
Yes. Oh, absolutely, man. That's, even if we were to find microbial life out there, that's, again, the implications are huge, because we find one thing and we can confirm that, well, then there's other things, other places. It just stands to reason, logically, that's what it would be. My question is, if we find microbial life or something along those lines before we find a sentient life, so to say, would that be an intentional progression? I mean, to me, that seems natural, that if we're out there searching and there's other sentient beings that are more evolved, on kind of sitting on the sidelines watching us, waiting for us to kind of get to a point where either maybe they reveal themselves or they leave the game to us to actually come around that corner and find them. They were there all along. They were just waiting for us to find the path to them. That could be something substantial too. What do you think, Rick?
Yeah.
Well, then you also have the fact that intelligent civilizations or aliens could have lived on planets and be gone for billions of years by now, with the age of the universe how it is. They could have come and gone, millions or billions of them, civilizations. So it's the timing too. You gotta put that into perspective, because we don't see any life out there as far as we can see, but I'm sure it's out there, man. Come on. It's look at how you just go look up in the sky. Just one of those dots that you see in is so far away that you'll know. You know what I mean? It's just, come on.
Yeah. Or look at any of the anomalies on Mars.
Right.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. No. I was just going to say, from all different directions. Go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
I was saying, yeah, Mars. I look at Mars, and I've said this before. Like, I look at Mars and I see our past. It's not. I don't see our future. Although there is a space race to get there, and I think that's because they understand that is our past, and they're hoping to find something there, some ancient technology or civilization, or maybe not even something useful, but just to prove that there was a civilization there. And I did kind of, again, I talked about that in my last video. They talk about how there's Martian meteorites that have landed on Earth that carry, bacteria and stuff. And I'm like, well, then doesn't that mean that there's life on Mars? Or at least when that meteorite was generated, there was, so that was either in the past or it's in the present,
right.
But yeah, so, and if it's here in our solar system, I say this all the time, okay, Europa, Enceladus, these are frozen moons. But, when Cassini went to Enceladus, it tested the geysers that were flying off the thing, and they found water in it. So they know that there's water underneath that. Tell me, I mean, like, I would put 99% of my equity down on there is life under that frozen crust on that moon right now. There's some kind of ocean life underneath there that's forming. And at some point, I mean, it could be after we're long gone, but I think that's going to come crashing down onto Saturn once it becomes, once it becomes its own planet, once everything coalesces and everything solidifies. All that organic life was building up there that whole time and will take place there. And I personally suspect that something like that happened on our planet. They said that our own moon was built or created around the same time as our planet was, if not shortly after, possibly, like a lot of speculation and science and nowadays with things like that and estimations. But, it's possible that all of the life that's on this planet and the water was up on the moon at some point and then just came down, like it either crashed in or it came down slowly through some, process, who knows? But, like if it's here in our own backyard, what are the odds that it's somewhere else? If it's right here in our solar system and either Europa, Enceladus, or Mars have life on them, then there has to be life out there just everywhere in the universe. That's what I think.
It just makes sense. I mean, I don't know how many times we can say it. I mean, I live in Massachusetts, United States, and I've never been to Hawaii. All right, or anything that's down there. Don't know for sure personally. I don't know if there's life. I don't know if there are birds. I don't know if there are fish because I've never actually been there. So, from that standpoint, I can't say that it's there. Am I going to put money on the fact that I believe that there's probably life there, just like there is here? It's the same thing. I would do that. I mean, only difference is we have a comparison here on Earth. But, again, when you're looking at, some of these planets like Mars and, even Venus, for example, or the moon, and you're finding these anomalies on there and you're studying these things, you're finding the same sort of structures on Earth. And I do think along the same lines as you, Manny, that, maybe something like that was what Earth was once. And we're just sort of in that lush period of, its life where it's supporting all this life and has, water and green trees and, oxygen in the air, where it might be in some hundreds of thousands of years be hydrogen, as an atmosphere. We don't know where the Earth is going to go. But then, in that respect, and I'll step out into the left field a little bit, they talk about different trajectories that the Earth itself or the universe is going based on the timelines that we choose, again, to experience. So, if everybody's banding together at a certain point, we're going to recycle, we're going to clean up the Earth, and we do, even minimal effort to make a difference. That's one trajectory where, if we just sat back and said, screw it, we're going to let this place go to hell, we could experience that too. So, I mean, it's really up to us what we end up experiencing. Big Cat, I'm going to try to pull this one apart. Big Cat asked, do you think it's possible through all this mess is to mix blood and make us undesirable, or I'm sorry, to make us and I'm trying to read it, a desirable for potential return, making sure as many of them are useful. Okay, I'm going to try to pull it. If I don't interpret this correctly, Big Cat, please chime in. But I'm going to say that I think you're asking if they're mixing, blood in the way that, maybe has been reported to been done in the past through different abductees and the interbreeding and stuff like that to perhaps foster a body that, carries more heavily their DNA as well as, ours mixed in and become a hybrid. Sure. I mean, it's possible if we are some sort of experiment to those beings, then why would they stop experimenting? Why would they stop at one point? Why wouldn't they make hybrids? I mean, the government projects and black projects have reported this all the way from Dulce, New Mexico to Montauk. I mean, people have been talking about these sort of things for a long time. Sorry to bring it off a little bit into a different course, but what do you guys think about that? A hybridization of us and in respect to us possibly already sharing DNA with several species out there. What do you guys think?
I'll take that one first. I've thought the same thing for a long time, man. When I started researching human evolution, the missing link, you look at the commonalities that we have with all the other primates and things like that, and all the other life on this planet, and there's obviously a common link. But like I said earlier, something sets us apart, and I've always wondered what the hell that is. I'm like, why us? Why not an alligator or a bird or a cat? Why human beings? Why are we so special? And at some point it did occur to me. I'm like, well, maybe maybe someone's trying to bring back something. Maybe they're trying to, bring back something that they lost, if that's the case. And so I am speculating. I'm jumping from one speculation to another here, but I'm speculating that maybe they did it. Maybe at some point in our distant or not so distant past, aliens did show up and say, hey, there's something here we can work with. Or maybe they were looking at it the whole time and just waiting for the right opportunity for something to pop up that worked for them, to kind of back that, I remember reading a newspaper article about a study that said something about how if you were to break down pretty much every human face on the planet, and that there's only a finite amount of kind of shapes and faces, like everyone kind of stems from these certain, like this short pool of physical features. And I'm thinking, well, God, doesn't that sound like somebody had a pool of DNA that they plopped down in, and we all of us come from those same 6, aliens, Nephilim, whatever you want to call them, angels. I mean, you could be anything, it just kind of something clicked, and I was like, well, yeah, I guess I could see that, but there's no proof, it's just one theory that happens to work with the available evidence. There are many. I'm sure Rick's got one. What do you think, man?
Well, my theory with that is that we would have to be hybrids, because my theory is that we came from Mars, we rode the moon, everybody jumped in, said, come on, let's go. This planet's a bust. Came down to Earth. So they'd have to have hybrid and changed our DNA and all that to be adjusted to this new ecosystem here. So I think it's a huge, definitely that could happen. Yeah, it probably did, actually. So,
Rick, do you think we're native to this planet?
No. The one thing that tells me that we're not, and this is, I used to drive before I got laid off, and I go on these long drives, so you see cows and horses and all this on the side of the road. They'll be standing there in the middle of the field, directly at the sun all day long. Doesn't bother them, okay? We can't even go outside and barely look up at the sun with eyelids and not get, affected by this. So we are not, if we're from Mars, okay, Mars is a little bit further away, we wouldn't be as close to the sun, and we wouldn't have that same problem with our eye. I think if we were at Mars right now, like the sun would be like beautiful, like, you know what I mean? It would be nice and not irritated.
Right away, or just distance away.
It's very, not well thought out, but it works.
No, that's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah. That's the one thing that's always made me think that with those cows. Just with those cows and the horses and any animal that's outside all day, birds fly directly, the sun's right in their eyes, but yet it doesn't affect them. But I can't even look at it, or anybody can't even look at it without some kind of, equipment or something, and not have your eyes burnt out. So that right there kind of makes me think that, but I don't know enough about, biology of all the other animals to say that specifically. But sure. Yeah, but we definitely came from Mars and hopped around on that moon. Yep.
Spaceship moon, man, I like it.
No, I love it too. I mean, I've heard that the moon is a satellite, and I've also heard that it might be a spaceship, or it was at one point, and then they kind of parked it there, or it's been some sort of intermediary between travelers going from this place to the other. So much is obviously speculation, but lots of fun to talk about. And we can get into a little bit more about the moon if you guys want to, just because I don't think we've really talked about the moon much on DHP. And that would be something interesting to get into. But insofar as our origin, I think that's kind of cool, Rick. I think that's a really interesting take. And, based on observation, that makes sense. There are some things in our environment that we're just not equipped for. Nobody has scales. We can't fly. We don't have feathers. We're not really adapted to our environment. We're sort of these, pink fleshy sacks running around, looking for something else to protect us that we need to wear on the lowest of levels of looking at it. So, it's, to me, I think that we were created here, but this body type and where we jumped in an evolutionary sense was exacerbated by many different species who had their own agendas, and Nephilim and the slave aspect of everything, mining for gold. I think that there's a big part of that in us, but it's the body that's resonant of this particular planet. Maybe the souls have been carried through generations and generations of different planets, going from Mars existences to to Venus to Marduk. I've read different channelings that described life on Venus or life on Mars during a certain era, and though those individuals were similar to us in maybe appearance and social aspects and the way they communicated, along the lines there was an evolution or de-evolution, depending, as in the case I think of Marduk. So it's really interesting to look at. It's really interesting to look at where we came from, and I think we're getting closer to understanding what that missing link is. Through all of this, I think we're getting a little bit closer.
I hope so.
But the moon, what do you guys think? Okay, ready? The moon hollow?
Yeah,
or
of course it's a spaceship.
What?
Yes.
Well, I thought it was made of Swiss cheese myself. Like, I'm disappointed.
Yeah,
I am severely disappointed.
Imagine that with some Ritz crackers. Ooh.
I know, man.
That'd be
wine.
One kind of midnight snack. Yeah, I mean,
man. Yeah, I'm glad it's there. It saves us from a lot of trouble. Yeah.
So what do you guys think, though? Is do we have activity on the moon right now? I'll explain why I think that might be the case in a moment. But do we have activity? Is the moon hollow, or does it just have caverns and places that you could maybe hide? What do you guys think? And if is it artificial? That's what I want to say.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
what do you think, Manny?
Yeah, I don't know about it being artificial. Like I think it's made of moon rock. I don't know what that is. It's mostly stuff that's here on Earth, is what they say, at least on the outer shell. They haven't really dug down into it too far to really tell. But there's a lot of studies going on at the moon, and they're actually talking about using the moon as a staging place. The Capstone program's going to put a base, or it's mapping the chart of where the station's going to go, that's going to go above the moon. And they're looking at mining the moon now for ice resources. I mean, it seems like we went from knowing absolutely nothing about the moon, in the 80s and 90s, and now it seems like they're just like, oh, it's just a part of our planet now. And I'm like, we didn't even know it was on the far side, allegedly, until just recently. Like, give me a break, but now you look at the thing and I see the far side of the moon. I see all the craters and stuff, and I just know what type of asteroids, meteorites, comets, or everything that are smashing into that thing every day. It protects us from things, but the moon is very important to a lot of the life on this planet. It has to do with our tidal energies. It has to do with the creation of the energy in the upper ionosphere, I think it is, between the stratosphere and the ionosphere, which creates lightning, which gives the planet energy, displaces things. It's very, very important and critical to life on this planet. And as such, I don't think we should be really monkeying with it, short past kind of looking at it, and seeing what it is. But all these things about bases on there and mining it, I'm just like, haven't we learned yet? You don't mess with stuff that keeps you alive. That's a bad move. Monkey with all the other stuff that keeps you comfortable, but the stuff that keeps you alive, you might just kind of want to let alone. Just my thought on that one. But yeah, it's the moon is almost too perfect to have not been artificially created, in my opinion. And even though I think it's organic, that doesn't mean that I don't think it wasn't artificially created. I think we're creating all sorts of organic and biological things in labs nowadays. They're 3D printing organs up at ISS, to test how they hold up in the microgravity. They're talking about printing kidneys, and I'm like, okay, well, why not then? Guess you could make a moon if you were advanced enough, if you had sufficient technology. Why not? Look at what we can do with our technology. In just a few short years, we've had it, and relatively speaking to humanity, but yeah, I could see it being fake, or not fake, but artificially created, but again, it has to have been by design. It's too coincidental that it does everything that it does for us, for it to have just been in the right place at the right time, in the right shape, in the right rotation, in the right balance. I'm just like, the universe is pretty chaotic. It doesn't really work on coincidence like that, so I don't know, maybe.
No, it's really well said, man. That's really well said. Rick, what do you think, bud?
Well, I just wanted to point KO. I was going to say this, but KO in the chat room actually said the same thing, that they did a huge test and it rang as if it was very hollow for a while too, right? They did actually did 2 of these tests, I
They
believe.
did 2 of
right?
them,
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah. So
yeah, when Apollo 11 landed, there was something that they said that it sounded like there was a bell ringing when it landed, or a hollow sound when it landed too, I think. And I think that might have been speculation, but I've read that a few times that
Right.
something like that, has happened to astronauts up there, and then there's the rumor of the cutout of the feed during the landing, and that there was a statement made by Buzz Aldrin about a giant craft at the rim of the crater and all that, that was redacted. You're like, I mean, there's so much evidence. Every time somebody's been there, you see something funky. Why don't we have cameras all over that thing by now?
Right.
Yeah, I agree. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that somebody has to be there to man those cameras. We got plenty of technology to send cameras up there remotely. I remember reading Richard Hoagland, some of his literature. I think it was Dark Side of the Moon, and he was mentioning that Buzz Aldrin, was a good painter, and he'd paint these beautiful, colorful, almost psychedelic landscapes. And when questioned, he would say, "Yeah, this is what it looks like on the moon." And then he would talk about how he could see these glass tunnels that were kind of broken, maybe I guess 4 or 5 miles off the surface of the moon, that were sort of still dangling there as if they were some sort of transit systems. And a lot of these tubes that had been broken, the shards of glass, were actually in the atmosphere floating about. So when the sun shone through, you'd actually get this prismatic rainbow effect all over the surface of the moon. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, Richard Hoagland is a great guy to at least start this adventure if you're looking into the moon. He definitely has done his research, but with some of the pictures that I think I saw, through that publication, with these different tunnels that were sort of snaking along the surface of the moon, where you could actually see something that looked reflective, long, and it stretching throughout the land. I mean, that would be interesting to know that was a possibility. I mean, how much over time changes on a surface that doesn't have an environment like we do? Something like that happened millions of years ago, still sitting there, existing. Have you guys ever heard anything like that? Glass tubes on the moon or glass shards in the atmosphere? Never?
That's so cool, though. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories about the Apollo landing and Buzz Aldrin, and I think Green Man just said something in there. He said that in the chat, he said something about the Apollo lander was crashed, and that's what it was. When they had gone back up to the capsule, they crashed the lander on the surface of the moon, and that's when they said they heard it ring like a bell, and that it resonated for a good hour and a half or so. And they were up above that thing and heard that, and admittedly, like that's got to be pretty loud, and that's got to mean something, like what does that mean, ringing like a bell? I got to say this too about when you're in space, like there's all kinds of perceptions that you're going to have, and the way that you see things is a little different out there. There's less EM protection from the Earth's EM field from solar winds, radiation, and all that stuff. And at some point, cosmonauts and astronauts have all said the same thing. They saw dancing butterflies and stuff like that, and it was even with their eyes closed, they would see these things, and that's how they kind of determined it was little bits of radioactive material passing through their eye, because they're not protected from it up there, and that doesn't explain everything, like the big giant humanoids and some of that other stuff, but it does explain that when you leave the Earth, like you were saying earlier, Michael, our bodies were created for this environment. We weren't created to, like if you look at the way that we're built, even NASA scientists have agreed with it when they started doing long-term studies of astronauts in microgravity. They were like, no, we're designed to be built on Earth with the gravity that we have, with the light structure that we have, with the heat, the humidity. Like our bodies are physically designed for this planet, but we also know that our bodies are some of the most adaptable and remarkable machines ever created. And if you don't believe me, just cut your little finger and watch it heal over the next few days. Take time lapse of it. And the fact that you don't do anything to that and it does it, that speaks volumes. I think our bodies could adapt to these other environments. Given the right time, we may have even been designed for that. But for right now, we're designed for here. All the bacteria that's in our gut says so. All of the, the crinks in our back and the shoulders as gravity crunches us down over the ears, that says so, unfortunately. But, we are, like, this is us. This is home, man. We got to own it. We got to take care of it, I don't know. Kind of ranting a little bit there, but
I happen to agree with you. I happen to agree with you. I've heard somewhere, I think I heard it a couple times, I'll be honest with you, that the human body is very unique in that it can hold certain consciousness that perhaps other bodies in their evolutionary states in our immediate universe cannot. So, for example, we have the ability within this body to, start from the lowest vibration, and if we choose to, we could reach Christ consciousness and hold it, anchor it into this body. So it's unique in that respect. Whereas, the body of a dog, I guess, doesn't have that capacity, or, you can pull any animal out. It doesn't have that same consciousness. And, though it may be connected to the source, it doesn't have the ability to, discern, the sentience, of course, that human beings have. But this body is a very sought out after body, from my understanding. When someone crosses over and decides, okay, well, I'd like to incarnate on Earth, there's a waiting period of sort. You have to, put together some sort of plan and a respect, and you have to be at a certain point where you're able to actually survive in that body. Have you guys heard anything like that?
Nope. First time for me.
Oh yeah, in beliefs, and spiritual beliefs, and that's kind of where we're getting into a realm of here, because there's not a lot of, we can't wrap our hands around and study and measure any of what we're talking about here at this point. I mean, some of it we can, but it's more of a big picture concept. It's more of just sitting back and looking at everything and saying, this is kind of what I think based upon it all, and our role in in life and spirituality, is it possible? I think that's what you just described is definitely possible. God, I remember I used to watch, what was it, Babylon 5 back in the day, the space thing, and there was a war between an alien race and humans back then. And this guy was explaining why they stopped the war, and he says, we realized at one point, he did some kind of weird Vulcan mind meld. That's cheesy, but he did. And he's like, and we realized that our race was being reincarnated into human bodies. You guys are literally these new, when people died on our home planet, they weren't coming back there being reincarnated. They were coming back on Earth. And so you guys, we can't kill ourselves. They ended the war. They're like, you are us, even though you're an alien species or something, you are us. They just didn't know it. They didn't understand what was going on, because as advanced as everybody was, they still had no idea what was going on in the universe or what their role was, and I like that idea. I'm like, you know what, we're all a part of something. We're all family, like we're all in this universe together, or this planet together, or whatever, that's just kind of how I look at it. We all have that one thing in common that separates us from the rest of life. We're intelligent and we're sentient, so we should look for that and not our differences, especially with aliens.
I couldn't agree with you more. With you more on that. Speaking of aliens, coming back to the abductee subject that I was bringing up, has anybody ever been abducted and then brought to the home planet, or been somewhere else other than a spaceship or something like that? Has anybody heard of anything like that? That would be curious.
Can't say that I have. Yeah, I can't say that I've ever heard of anyone claiming to have actually been traveled to another, alien or even another planet in our solar system and being transported back. That's typically the UFO thing is what you hear, yeah. I mean, but if they're going to pick you up and take you to another planet, why stop at Mars or Jupiter? Why not just keep going, to some other, why not go back to wherever you're from, and then why come back? Why bring it back? I would assume you wouldn't hear from those people again. They're probably in a, petting zoo or something. I don't know. Dang it.
Well, on a lighter note, if you were ever taken up into one of these crafts and put in front of the head guy there, what's the first question? If you only had one question, what's the question you would ask? Manny, why don't you go first on this one? I'll give Rick a minute to think about that.
Why are you here? Why are we here? Yeah. Why? I mean, if there's one, I just want to know it, what's going on. If there's some greater plan, clue us in so we can get on board. We've been bumping around for a long time. Let's get on with it. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be kind of fun though, as long as it's not some kind of weird kooky emperor like in the recent Star Wars movie, I'd be like, nah, man, that ain't cool.
Jesus,
Give me that
yeah.
lightsaber. I'll jump on the grenade for the universe. Let's do this.
And I'm sure that those kind of characters are out there. I mean, if you can think of it, it should exist somewhere, in some form. So
universe is a huge place. That's a lot of possibilities, I think just about anything's possible. Especially when you start taking into things like relative time and things like that. You're like, I mean, things could be progressing on other planets. There could be whole evolutions of species in the bat of our eye, or vice versa. Our whole evolution could be just, a 10-year blip on a whole, some other species. It's just, it gets so hard to wrap your head around it. And a lot of cosmologists and astronomers say the same thing. They're just like, the human mind simply cannot comprehend how big the universe is. You can get an idea, but you're not truly grasping it, and I get that. I'm like, okay, that's a really big concept to wrap your head around. And I watch videos like that on YouTube all the time, where you start on Earth and you zoom out and you see the moon and the solar system, and you go all the way out to I love it. It's so humbling, man. It is. And you're just like, okay, nothing really matters. I get it, but everything matters. Okay, I get it. I get it. Wow, thanks. But
no, seriously.
Even with that, even by grasping it like that, you still don't wrap your head around how big the dang universe is. Fully grasp it. Like it's insanely huge, and and because of probability, there's got to be all kinds of life. There's got to be all good life, bad life, intelligent life, non-intelligent life, life that we probably wouldn't even recognize or probably couldn't even see, and it might be sitting right next to us. We might call it a ghost when it's a, being from another planet or another dimension, I mean, come on, that's just us, trying to qualify something that we can't explain because it scares us. Booga, booga, booga. I don't know.
I wonder in all of that. I wonder if, in terms of how big the universe is and how it continues to go out and out and out and expand, as they say, I wonder if at any point there's a repetition. You know what I mean? Where, maybe things aren't exactly the way that they were prior to, but they're pretty damn close. And then life forms go through that as well. From what I can see, it's experience. No matter what it is, be it inert or sentient, there's some sort of experience associated with it. And that seems to be a common global principle throughout the universe and maybe even beyond. I don't know, man. That's it's really interesting to think about. Again, like you said, 503, you can't really wrap your mind around how big the universe actually is. You can only take it in, very small strides, Rick, what do you think, man?
Yeah, it's amazing. I think it's just crazy. One thing I don't believe in, though, is like the multiple universe theory, where they have like, where every action you do like sets off another universe. Like, unless it's explained to me wrong or something, but I just can't buy that, because then you're putting, everything you do at like the center of the universe, and that's creating a whole other universe. Like, unless I'm not understanding it right, that's one thing I can't wrap my head around. But I could believe, there's absolutely, out there in the universe, it's so big, there's so much going on. It's just, they had that theory that tied in with it, where like anything is possible. Because the universe is so big, like, anything is possible on any planet. Well, I don't believe that there's a planet where it like rains purple cats playing pianos on the way down to the earth, like to their death. I just don't believe that. Do you know what I'm saying though? Like,
yeah,
right. It's an infinite amount of possibilities, but it's not true. It's like, it can't be. How can it happen? I just.
Right. But there is a planet where it rains diamonds, actually, where carbon is vaporized and goes up into the atmosphere and hits such pressure that it is turned into diamonds and rains down below. That actually exists.
Oh, wow.
There's a couple of different planets where that happens on. It's not like but it does literally rain diamonds. And there's other planets that are just crazy like that,
Right.
Yeah. I think like as far as the whole universe is, like multiverse thing goes, there's like all things exist and all things don't at the same time. It's kind of one of those conundrums. You're like, all things are possible. So there's if there's an infinite amount of universes, there's one where every single one was just one little change differently. That's still not infinity. You know, there's still a finite amount of universes there. Infinity is infinity, and it goes on forever. It doesn't ever stop, no matter how big the dang number is. So if there's multiple universes, and I do believe that there is. I do believe that if you were to really zoom out of our universe as we understand it, and keep going and going and going, you might, you know, and it is so silly. It goes back to Animal House. Donald Sutherland said something. What if our solar system, our universe, is all just a cell in an atom of some big giant being, and the relative timeline of the cell of his lifetime is, you know, hundreds of billions of years of the existence of our universe at that point when it dies. But you know what I mean? Like, and to him, it's just it's nothing. It's a fingernail or a piece of hair or something, you know, like, well, then you look down at your own fingernail, and you're like, well, are there infinite universes and all of that? And I think that's kind of how I view the infinite universe. Like, it is, you know, like, right. Time's relative based upon everything. We already know that the GPS satellites above us are adjusted for the time difference every day. You know, like, their time is relative. It's relative to your planet. It's relative to the gravitational pull of the system that you're in, including, you know, your solar system, all that stuff, and your galaxy. I mean, these all tie in, and there are levels of, you know, different levels of magnetospheres, levels of gravity. These things all overlap each other and encompass us, but they're way bigger than us. You know, that's what the universe is about on the grand scale. You know, all these stars pulling and tugging on each other. What is all that about? What is all that doing, and why? You know, is this truly chaos, or is this all some intelligent design? You know, like, it makes more sense. Like, and just like the stars or the moon moving around makes, you know, lightning and generates tides here on Earth. Well, the whole galaxy, our galaxy moving around, does that inside the universe, you know, and our stars do that inside the galaxy. Like, there's levels of life, and we're very small on it. You know, I like to think that we're moving up it, you know, and getting up there, but that's kind of what I think, you know, like, this is just one stop of many. So let's enjoy it while we're here. Be kind to each other.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. It's for you know, life is for positivity too. It's not just about the struggle. There are many cultures that revel in that theory. In terms of what you were talking about, Rick, I mean, you did remind me of, you know, when somebody's making a choice, you go right or left. You know, maybe you go right, and that's the physical universe that you experience, but left is created as a possibility. It's inert, but is a possibility, and perhaps in another existence, on another point in vibration, you chose to go left. So there's a part of you that is experiencing that left simultaneously as you've just taken the right, except the bulk of your consciousness, all right, is with the right. You understand what I mean? But based on your decisions, you are creating, I mean, because that guy who went left goes off and lives a full life, you know, and he's in his own universe. And, you know, the guy on the right does the same exact thing. But again, the bulk of your consciousness is with the guy on the right. In terms of, you know, talking about these, you know, interdimensions and how they may affect each other, I look at it like this, and I think it's a very shallow, no pun intended, and you'll see why. It's a shallow interpretation, but I think it gives a little bit of an idea. So picture you were in a pool, like an in-ground pool. You have 10 feet of water. Let's go with 20 feet of water above you. Okay. Now, as you're standing on the bottom of the pool, just above you, there's somebody floating, and above him, there's somebody floating there. So let's say there's 4 different layers of people floating in the water. Now, as you're looking forward and back and, you know, to your side, you may not necessarily see this. Okay. It's still existing within the pool, and whatever movement you make does affect the water the guy above you's, you know, swimming in, and so forth, because it affects the motion in the entire pool. So while you may not be aware of all these other people or dimensions on top of you, you know, what you do, how you think is affecting that dimension, as well as what they're doing and so forth is affecting our dimension, because it's all, again, in the same pool. It's just very subtle, and you may not always catch it. You know what I mean?
That's interesting. I haven't heard of that, but that's cool.
I think that's a great analogy, though. It does explain, you do kind of explain the whole, it's kind of a butterfly effect, you know, how there's one little ripple can cause an effect somewhere else, you know, and that's when you're part of a greater system, that makes perfect sense, because everything that you do affects, you know, the environment around you, your society, your own self, you know. So I think that's a real good analogy to kind of explain it there, you know. And as far as like interdimensions go, like, you look at light, like light has a wide spectrum of energy, and the human eye can only see a very small portion of it. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. We just can't see it. You know, it still burns our skin. That's why we get burnt when we go out. You know, it still will burn your corneas out if you stare at the sun, like you were talking about, Rick. You know, like it will still mess you up, and it is still there and equally as real. And it doesn't matter if you believe in it or see it or not. It's there. You know, and I kind of think that's how the you know, if we interact with other dimensions and other beings or entities, like that's kind of, it's going to be that same thing. They could be have been interacting with us the whole time, and they were just misperceived as ghosts or spirits or things like that. And I like that analogy, because how would we know the difference? You know, alien, ghost, spirit, you know, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it all looks the same to us. It's not a human being. It's not anything we can explain. So we got to tag it as something. We're going to put a name on it, you know? And, you know, that could be it. You know, they could be out here the whole time just waiting for us to figure out how to see them, how to communicate with them. You know, this could be, and this could go into something else that you talked about earlier about a kind of Star Trek First Contact thing where they're monitoring us. But if we don't get our act together before we wipe ourselves out, they're just going to be like, well, that was a shame. You know, like they can't interfere until we get to a certain point. Or maybe they can, and maybe they have been. Maybe they've been interfering to keep us from, you know, blowing each other up, and that's it. They're saying, okay, we'll stop you from nuking each other, but other than that, you guys got to figure this out on your own, you know. And that, you know, I've honestly thought about at one point, it tied back to our beginning thing about disclosure and about a timeline and stuff. If there was some sort of secret agreement made and the clock was ticking down on it, it would explain a lot of what we're seeing now about people dropping treaties, racing to Mars, disclosing weird things on the New York Times, you know, it coming from every angle and every agenda. And that might put all those pieces together. You're like, it might all tie in together. Like maybe they do know this, and maybe their time is running out. And, you know, once it does run out, what's going to happen? All the treaties are off and we're left for ourselves. I don't give us a very long chance if that's the case, you know, like I really don't. There's too many nukes on this planet, and any one person can start it if they got their finger on a button, you know, and mutually assured destruction is just that. It's mad. You know, we're all done. And in 200 years, the planet will grow back and try again without us. That's how that's going to work.
No, absolutely, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, what if,
I hope it's true. Please, you know, again, continue.
In my belief, you know, personally, you know, I think we've tried this a handful of times, and I think that, you know, I find parallels in this too in other realms of spirituality. But I think, you know, if we do screw up real bad and we end up killing ourselves off, there might be the possibility that we're allowed to kind of start back from the beginning and do it again. You know, that's sort of my understanding in terms of reincarnation. If you're not, you know, doing the lessons or what you planned on doing initially, you would come back and do it again, because that's what you would, you know, kind of signed up to do. That's what you wanted to do. You know, why wouldn't it pertain to us on a mass scale where, you know, as a consciousness, as a collective, we screwed up. So we got to, you know, come back and do it all over again. You know, I've heard this from Duncan Cameron. It was his belief that we've tried this, and he gave the number 7 times and hoped to hell that this 8th time would be the one where we didn't blow ourselves up or we didn't fight an intergalactic war, something happened on that scale. You know, again, we're getting into the realm of speculation, but I love talking about this kind of stuff because I do believe there is some substance. And, you know, for people like Duncan Cameron, who's walking around talking about this, who had absolutely nothing to gain from it, never gained anything from it, actually. He didn't even want the notoriety. You know, where did it come from? Was he just a crazy guy? And, you know, the guy next to him saying the same thing, is he also crazy? Or did they actually see something? Do they know something? I feel like we're left out. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like we are incredibly left out, and we are missing out on some sort of galactic federation, which we could all be included. And, you know, at the very least, instead of, you know, hiking it down to Miami for your spring break, you might be able to visit Venus, you know. No, I'm kidding. But at the same time, you know, I think there's an aspect that, you know, obviously there's a process. We're not supposed to be part of that, or whatever the case may be at the moment. But I think a lot of us understand that there is sort of this connection that we all have in living, breathing life one way or another. And if there is an extraterrestrial population out there, guaranteed at least some of them know about each other and may even be in contact with each other and working with each other in different ways. Why the hell can't we do it? Is it the guys that we put in office that are keeping us from making that connection? Is it, does it go higher up than that? Or is there maybe 10 or 12 sects of folks that speak for the entire planet? I don't know. I just feel like we're left out, man.
Preach, brother, preach.
Yeah, well, you know what? You're emotional about this, and so am I. So
it is emotional, very.
I agree with what you said, though, man. If there's some kind of technology, if there's some kind of advanced, galactic federation or something like that, we are being left out. And if that could have changed, let's say, I've thought about this a lot. Like, let's say something happened back in the 50s. Okay, pure speculation here, but let's say some kind of first contact was made back then, and it was made with elected officials at the time. Back then, they most certainly wouldn't wanted the whole world to know about it, and they would have probably begged for some time to ease us into it and made some kind of agreement and said, hey, we need to tell it, we need time, and back at that time, the 100-year mark probably seemed like an eternity, but in today's day and age, you look at 100 years, it's not that much. Actually, it really isn't. You look at what we've done in the last 100, it's leaps and bounds, man. Things have changed countless times since then, so if some kind of agreement like that was made, like you could see that maybe that's where they're going. Maybe they don't think we're ready, like they're like, hey, you gotta get your act in line. You gotta put down these weapons of war. You can't be coming out into the universe with starships loaded with nukes. Like we don't play that way. We talk our differences here. We don't go out in the yard and fight, we did that. It didn't work. It was messy. We don't do it anymore. I like to think that's what's going on. I really do. And I hope that we are being ushered into an age of that. But I got to tell you, if that's the case, and I talked about it in my alien disclosure video 2000 that I did last year, 2019, and I called it the great lie. And it is a great lie because it robbed every generation of people beyond when they started telling that lie of the advances that they should have been due there. How many people have gotten sick and died that shouldn't have? How many people are currently living in poverty and don't have health care, don't even have drinking water and stuff, and all around the world that don't have to, that could have known and had better lives because of that. And that right there is, when you add up all those billions of people that this lie affected, it makes it the greatest lie of all times, man. We're talking billions of people because of the generations involved. It's so terrible. It's so terrible. And I know, all of us have been touched by it and our lives could have been different. And so I totally agree with you. We are being left out, but we've also been really, really rocked there. Somebody did us wrong, and not just us, but our ancestors, everybody who lived from that point while that lie is being told. That's why I wanted to come out saying, you know what? No more, not for the next generation, not for anybody else. If this is a truth, let's get it out there. Then no more kids need to be sick. We don't need cancer and leukemia. Fuck that shit. Let's get rid of it. Yep. Let's be done with it and put it behind us, and let's be the advanced species and the compassionate, empathetic, people that we claim that we are. Let's walk the walk and let's do it, or let's just devolve back into the caves and stab each other with sticks and club each other with stones and fight over an apple. Let's go one way or the other. I'm sick of this waffling, and the back and forth. Let's just pick it and stick it, whatever it is, that's our rule.
Man, this is why I it's such an honor to have you on the show and to be able to talk to you, Manny, because, you think like that and your attitude is so positive, dude. And in this day and age where, everybody is getting into these sort of things or they have their own opinions, it's so important. Attitude is everything, man. I know it sounds so dumb, and we heard this when we were in school and we were like, whatever, but honestly, as you get older and you start really implementing that, attitude is everything. And like you said, we've had all these things on Earth, events and anomalies that occur, sicknesses and, circumstances where people didn't need to die because they just didn't have the basic resources in life that, if you're living on the planet, I think all three of us here will agree you have the right to. It's a shame that not everyone thinks that way across the scale. It's just it's unfortunate, and I believe what you're saying Manny. I'm on board with you 100%. Let's just get this done. We've done this. We've seen the sickness. We've seen the wars, the violence. We've used it as the tools of evolution. I think that they might have been, you know, everything exists for a reason. So, I mean, you got to pull something positive out of it. If, you know, you walk up to your buddy and you decide to fight and one guy hits you and, one guy hits the other guy in the face and he looks at me and goes, "Oh, damn, that hurt, man. That hurt." And he goes, "Oh, that hurt?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, let's not do this." "Oh, okay. Okay, if it hurts, so let's not do it." You know, I think it's that simple. You know, I really think it's that simple. It's a matter. It's going to be up to us. Okay, let me put it that way. It's going to be up to us as individuals to not only come to our own conclusions, but to then act on them. And right now, with what all three of us do in this field, you know, it's the beginning of that sort of action. It's what we know we can do right now. And I guarantee if something else came up, every single one of us would take the opportunity and jump on it. You know, hopefully that's where we're moving. But I really hope at some point that the people that control a lot of what goes on in this planet can see eye to eye with the masses and those that they care for. I mean, because if nothing else, I do believe that they had chosen that position to care for hundreds of millions of people the way that a king does, or, you know, any president of a country. I mean, you, even in the physicality of it, you make a decision, an agreement. It says, "I will take care of you guys." Most of them don't live up to that, but you know, they all promise the same damn thing. So,
right? If you're a protector, then protect. You know, do it. Do your one duty. Take care of people. You know, and that means taking care of yourself, but it also means putting your own personal beliefs to aside to take care of the whole. You know, it's the old Spock in Star Trek: "The needs of the many outweigh the few." That's the best way to just sum it up right there. You know, and that requires personal sacrifice sometimes. Yeah.
I think if you're a leader, I mean, the pragmatic approach is probably, you know, the most safe. You know, that's, you have to be pragmatic if you're going to be a leader. You got to be a realist in a certain respect, and you do have to hold your own personal beliefs and emotions. It takes a very strong person to be a leader, and believe me, I do not envy any of those guys in the top positions. I mean, I don't want to be president of the United States. If somebody were to hand me something tomorrow and say, "Hey, you know what? This just opened up. You know, we'll get you a nice cozy spot in the White House. You just come rule the land for 4 years." "No, thank you. On to the next guy. I'm all set. Thank you." So I don't envy those kind of people that have come in and chosen to take on those roles. I mean, a big one, and I'm going to bring them up, but you know, a big one to me is Hitler. You know, can you imagine the karmic pattern this poor guy had to go through? And I only say that because, you know, if it was me that chose to be that heavyweight in life sometime, or if it was Rick or, you know, you, Manny, whoever it was who decided to take on that incredibly heavy role, dip down from the highest vibration and get into that lower state of vibration, for lack of a better term, that's a lot on your shoulders. And I would assume, sign up for lifetimes of clearing that out one way or another. So I give it to those guys, you know, to whatever degree. But in respect to, you know, extraterrestrials and how they may be interacting with some of these top officials, you know, I wonder sometimes if they take the ETs take our officials' words for what things are. Maybe, you know, aliens are looking down on us and they just see a bunch of cattle in a field. They're like, "Oh, they don't know that guy's name is Mike and that's Jenny over there." They have no idea. They just see a bunch of us and they're still talking to 5 or 6 people that claim to speak for the all. You know, who knows what the hell they're saying, you know?
Yeah. Is your voice being heard? Has it been heard? Were the, you know, again, speculating and assuming that some kind of contact happened, was, you know, did they pursue their own agenda? These are all valid questions. And, you know, we don't really know because there's nothing to really base anything on. So you could say, yeah, it could be possible that somebody got in there and made their own choices. But, you know, I always wonder that. And the same could be said about any sort of political system. Are you really being listened to? You know, you just got to kind of take it at face value that people are going to do what they're going to do. And at least in this day and age, we've got social media. It's everywhere. You can kind of tell what people are doing. It's a lot harder to BS people nowadays because everyone's got it on tape and they'll just blast you. You know, like it'll be trending before you know it. Even if it was just a guy, you know, who caught a piece of toilet paper on your shoe or something. You know, like it'll be out there and someone will catch it. So don't try. Don't even try. You know, like it's never been a worse time to be a BSer in this world. But still people try. They still try. But I mean, yeah, I would like to think they would. I mean, you're speaking on behalf of all of humanity. You got to have a set of berries on you to step up and say that. I don't even like speaking for my girlfriend of 11 years. You know, like she can order what she wants. I don't want to, you know, I'm just like, hey, it's okay. You know, like, yeah, we'll be fine. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't presume to speak for all men if I'm giving my male opinion on a subject or something. You know, I wouldn't presume to speak for all of humanity. I'd be like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm not wearing that weight. What if I mess up, dude? Like, I don't want to go down in the books as a guy who killed off everything, who like screwed up the one chance he had to get out of, you know, to evolve past, you know, like, or whatever, join something else. Like, I would say I need to consult with my fellow human beings if that's okay. But as we all know, not all people are like that, you know, and especially again, if something like this happened in the 40s or 50s, imagine what those leaders were like, you know, like some of those Churchill, you know, like some of those guys were just, it's my way or the freaking highway. And that's how it got done, dude. Like it wouldn't have got done. We wouldn't be where we are today if that wasn't the case, you know. But is that really someone you want standing up and speaking for all of humanity's morals, beliefs, and values? Like, no. Maybe not. Maybe we should consult a few more people and maybe we should find out. You know, I think a lot more people probably would say that they feel the way, you know, like that we've been talking about, of more of like a global consciousness instead of an individual consciousness, you know. And so maybe people might want that expressed to these races, like, hey, we're not necessarily, you know, maybe we are, or, you know, and if you could explain to us our role or where we sit, then it might help us understand that a little better, you know. It might help us understand that not everything revolves around Earth. You know, Earth doesn't even revolve around Earth anymore. You know, it revolves around the sun. You remember, you know what I'm saying? Like at one point, the sun did revolve around us. I'm just saying.
Right. No, right.
To some degree, it still does. You know, the whole universe revolves around us. You know, and that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, you know, once you grasp that we're part of something bigger, you can't feel that way because Earth, even our solar system, is very, very small in the greater scheme of things, and that's just what we can see, not all the other stuff out there that we have no idea even exists, but that we're a part of. You know, but
oh yeah. Well said, Manny. Yeah. Really well said, man. You know, and I feel like, you know, we're looking back at, you know, these civilizations that, you know, for example, the Egyptians, where you have hieroglyphs and you have carvings in a stone that show enormous giants, and they show contact, or what, you know, again, can be perceived as contact with UFOs and alien beings. I mean, what's wrong with us? I mean, you guys were there for the Egyptians, you were there for the Sumerians, you were there in Atlantis and Lemuria, you've been to, you know, Aztec culture, Incans, Mayans. What? Are we just waiting our turn, or are we just so different as a whole that, you know, it's not something they could do to visit like the Dogon tribe, you know, in a remote area where, you know, somebody or a tribe in Asia doesn't have any idea that that's happening, and that, you know, there's no contact between the two. Are we so far gone that they're just going to let us do this on our own? I really wonder. I really wonder what it's going to be, man. God.
Yeah, I've kind of thought about this myself a few times. Oh, go ahead, Rick. I didn't mean to cut you off, man.
Oh, I wasn't.
Oh, sorry.
Nope, that's
all right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I've got still trying to get into this whole streaming thing. As you guys know, I'm a video dude, but I like this. I like chatting with people and just getting some good conversation out there. You know,
doing just fine, Manny.
Right on. Yeah, so like I was saying, like, you know, I've thought about that before, about the different kind of life forms and you know, different, you know, aliens that are coming to talk to us and communicate. I don't know if, God, I lost my train of thought there because I got nervous. I'm so sorry about that.
No worries, buddy.
Yeah. So go ahead, Rick.
Yeah. What do you got, Rick?
Oh, no, I was just listening in.
Do you have any, I mean, when you're sitting here listening to both of us kind of converse back and forth, does anything pop in your mind? Do you have any questions that, you know, sort of get you going and make you think about this subject, or make anything arise for you? By the way, that theory that she gave us earlier was really cool. It was really unique, man. I liked that.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah. I just live my life by peace, love, and bacon. You know me. That's it. Everything else is just out the back window because I don't even want to look at it. Yeah. once everybody realizes the beauty of that statement that I just made, you'll just be, you won't even be looking for aliens anymore. Manny, you'll start making videos. Dark Hour, you won't even be live streaming anymore. It just all comes together. So yeah.
I like bacon, man. Peace, love, and bacon. That's a pretty good mantra. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just came
Rick,
up.
do you think aliens like bacon? Do you think the aliens will accept the bacon as a housewarming gift when they come?
I really hope not, because that right there, that one thing alone is something that could cause a war between all of us. I mean, if we're the only planet in the universe that has pigs, you know, and we're the only place they can get it, you know, they could take the pig off the planet and, you know, try to raise it on their planet, but it's not going to work because it's bred here. They want that homegrown pig, you know what I mean? They want it right from the earth. So that could cause war. If they haven't tried it already and you're listening to us now, aliens, please don't try it, because you will love it so much. And we need it here. We need it here on Earth.
Bacon shortage, you know. But if it was going to happen,
Right.
2020 is the year for it to happen in. You know, I'm just saying.
Yeah, you better believe it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the only year that I will allow it to happen in. That I'll accept it happening. After this, no.
You know what you remind me of, Rick, when you're talking about this, is that the video game you had on your channel there, Rick's Realm. It was was it Death to All Humans?
Destroy all humans. Yeah.
This video game, Manny. You know, just wackiness at its best. But sorry. That's
I've seen some clips of it. It's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah.
I like it. You know. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the what was it, Invaders from Mars, the movie with the little aliens who were blasting everybody or whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
It was pretty funny.
What was the name of the movie? I'm sorry. Did you say it?
Was it Invaders from Mars? I think it was with Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson.
Yeah. It might not have been Invaders from Mars. It might have been called something else.
Mars Attacks.
Mars Attacks. There you go.
Yeah,
That's
they're just like bop, bop, bzz. We like you, we don't like you. Like, and you know, that's the thing though, man. If aliens wanted to mess with us, they could, dude. They could take us out if they were hostile, if they didn't want us here. And I've said it many times. Like, what are we gonna do about it? They could launch a big rocket us the size of our moon and just be done with it. You know, they're like,
That'd be it.
Right.
yeah, they wouldn't even have to show up and mess with us. Why would they? Why would they get their hands dirty? You know, they just hit us with a can of Raid. It'd just be a big, you know, meteorite instead, you know, or something. But yeah,
seriously,
what are we gonna?
It's like the kid standing over an anthill with a bottle of aerosol and a light. You know, ants would never see it coming.
Yeah, you couldn't. We couldn't stop them, you know. If they wanted to come down and snatch a few people up, we couldn't stop them. We probably couldn't even see them, you know. And cows, people, whatever, you name it, you know. Like, they could be doing it all along. I just like to think that they're not. There's no reason for them, you know. Like, your average person's not going to mess with an anthill unless they give them cause to, like they're pushing up in their house or they're, you know, bothering them. If you just walk by it, you're just going to leave it. It's part of nature. Why would you mess with it, you know?
Right.
You're not going to go out of your way to mess with it because of its nature, you know.
KPT made a joke. She says that cattle mutilation mystery solved. They just want some steak. Hey, listen, that might be true. I'll be honest with you. That is probably the strangest part of this phenomenon to me. I can't understand why the cattle mutilations. I mean, if they're abducting people and they're doing their experience with that, unless they're extracting some sort of specific DNA because they're taking tongues, eyeballs, and, you know, soft tissue organs, maybe they're processing something like that. But otherwise, I could never really figure out why they would do that, you know? And these are obviously not benevolent aliens if that's the case. What's your thoughts on that, boys? Manny, what do you think?
I've talked about cattle mutilations a couple of times in videos, and you know, there's been over the years in Oregon just tons of them. I mean, going all the way back. There was just some last summer in northeastern part of the state. I think 6 cows were found, and the ranchers took it seriously because, you know, and this is their theory. They're like, whatever could do that to a full-grown bull would have no problem doing that to two guys on cowboy or on, you know, horseback. So they're riding around armed. They're riding in pairs. They're riding with walkie-talkies and, you know, satellite phones to stay in communication. They're taking it seriously. Something's taking down cows. And, you know, when I was researching that particular video, I started digging into some other sightings around the world. And, you know, I was looking for sightings that were, you know, 98% similar with this one. Eyes, tongue, you know, soft tissue organs, genitalia is what was removed in this case. And I found some really interesting cases over in the UK. I found places down in South America where it's happening. over in other parts of Europe and in Asia. I think this is going on. It's a global phenomenon, and it's not just an isolated incident, and it's been going on a long time. Why are they taking it? Are they taking the lips and eyes for sushi, or are they using it to, create a biosphere on another planet to terraform? I don't even know, but they could be doing anything in between. How do we wrap our head around alien intentions when we can't, it's hard enough for me to try to tell you what my neighbor thinks about his politics and football. How am I going to try to guess what an alien thinks about, what their motivations are for taking tongues and eyes, I have no way to communicate with them. I have no context. All I know is what they've done, and so I just can't. I mean, it could be anything. It could be food, but I tend to think it's more specific. It's more specific to Earth. It's more specific. I mean, they're not doing this to alligators and, gardener snakes and rattlesnakes. They're doing it to mammals. They're doing it to cows and sheep, and maybe they do want to learn more about the mammal life on this planet without taking human beings. I mean, maybe that's part of it too, or at least doing that what they did to them. But I did say this in my video. I said, if people seem to find a cow out in the middle of a field and it's missing its eyes and tongue, they don't, they think it's weird, but they don't raise hell. But if you're walking through downtown Portland and saw a human being lying there with his eyes and tongues, gone, laser cauterized out, not a drop of blood, it'd be all over fucking. Everybody would want to know all across the world, what happened and how that happened. And nobody would quit. Nobody would quit until there was answers, they would want to know, right. So that could be part of it too. Maybe they just don't want to blip our radar. Maybe they are more in tune with our social structures than we think or like to know. Maybe they are more in tune. And that might also, again, go back to what we talked about. Maybe they've been in communication with our leaders for quite some time, and that's why they're in tune with everything that's going on. Again, I'm just speculating because that's what we're doing here, having some fun speculating, but that's my opinion.
No, that's exactly what this is all about, man. That's exactly this kind of space that I like to create here, and that's what we like to do. So I mean, as long as it's you're having a good time, that's all that matters,
Yeah.
But
sure.
I think we're gonna wrap it up roundabout here. We're almost at the bottom of the hour. So I want to thank you, Manny, for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure once again with you, bro. Just to let everybody know out there in the chat and anybody watching, posting, everything is in the description. Please visit Manny at Area 503. He's got an awesome channel, does some great analysis, very entertaining too, by the way, very enjoyable to watch his videos. Very much enjoy checking those out. You can sit back on a Sunday afternoon and make a 2-3 hour stint of it, believe me. In addition, please check out Rick's Realm. This is Rick over here. We got Rick right there. He does Rick's Realm. It's an awesome show where he does anything and anything goes, and it's a lot of fun. And I'm usually on there with him, enjoying that time. So please subscribe to both these guys, like their videos, check them out. And of course, thank you guys for coming over to DarkHour Paranormal. It has, again, been an awesome time. Manny, I want to thank you one more time for coming on, man. It's been an absolute pleasure, bro.
Yeah, my pleasure, dude. I love hanging out with you guys. This has been a blast. I love talking about things and getting other people's ideas and just bouncing it all around, and then, walk away and think about what we talked about. That's it.
Right.
Absolutely, man. Well, that's great, man. We'll definitely
real quick.
Yep, go ahead, Rick.
For Manny, Manny, you had a video not too long ago where you have Batman sitting on a bench, and you have Spider-Man come in on a unicycle, riding around and playing bagpipes with fire shooting. Is that something you recorded, or did you find this on the internet? Or
that is on the internet. That's on that's my guy. He's a local Portland personality. His name is the Unipiper, and he rides around on a unicycle playing the bagpipes in different costumes. You can find him on YouTube, and everyone should go check him out at Unipiper on YouTube. He's a cool guy. He has different songs. He has flaming bagpipes. The Batman guy, I'm not sure who he is, but I've seen him around town quite a bit too. He's another kind of personality type that gets out there and does his thing. But yeah, that's it, and that is the spirit of Portland right there, man.
Yeah, man. The way you had that into the story, it was just so perfect, and I couldn't pay attention after that. But I just had to bring that up because that's been on my mind ever since I saw that. It's just hilarious. It just came out of nowhere. I was just like, what?
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Did you see how he hit him with the silly string at the end too? It's
No.
like a web. Yeah, at the very end of them, he just
No.
sprays Batman with silly string, and it's like his web, and Batman's like, "Oh, come on, man!"
I gotta go back and watch it now. Oh my
Oh,
god,
it's hilarious. The
That's
Unipipe
great.
is great, dude. He's a Portland legend. I tag him on Twitter sometimes, and like I've talked to him on it when I catch him around town from time to time. He's a really cool guy. So if you guys want to go check out more of his stuff, and he's got his own channel. He plays his bagpipes. He's a cool guy. It's good stuff.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank
Guys
you,
in the chat, go check them out too. You guys will be very entertained. That was really cool. And if you can get on Area 503 and check out that video, you will know exactly what we're talking about. That was awesome. I'll be honest with you. That was really cool.
Genius.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for coming. Rick, thank you for being here. You are part of Dark Hour Paranormal, though I don't really need to thank you because you're always here, and that's where you should be, as well as me on your show. So that being said, Manny, thank you very much. Again, guys, subscribe to Area 503 and Rick's Realm, as well as Dark Hour Paranormal. Like and subscribe, smash that like button and all that great stuff. And we will be back tomorrow night with Navier Alora, who is a clairvoyant, a high priestess in the pagan world, and a medicine healer, medicine woman, along with many other things. And we'll be discussing her travels and experiences tomorrow night. Please join us again the same time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and we'll be here. Folks, have yourself a wonderful night. Let me just cue up the music because I should have done that, but I was honestly too enthralled listening to what you guys were saying. So,
You want me to sing for you or no?
yeah, if you don't mind, you know what I mean.
No, you don't want that. Yeah.
I have a grate outside I can drag along the pavement if you want to go company you.
That's what it'll sound like.
Do some old school beatboxing if you will. I'll give you a beat, man. Exactly.
Well, we can do it.
Have a good night. Thanks for coming out.
All right, folks. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and we will see you tomorrow night here on Dark Hour Paranormal. Cheers, guys. Stick
Have
around.
a good one. Thank you.
Awesome show, man. Absolutely awesome show. Never a dull moment with Manny. Man, I love it. Great. Thanks for coming, guys. I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate your support. Appreciate your contributions in the chat and what you guys give me even off camera. Thank you, all of you. From my heart, I appreciate you.